This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by the Managing Madrid Podcast preseason tour. It is creeping up on us so soon. This weekend is our first in-person show of the summer. We are doing Los Angeles Saturday morning, and then Houston, and then the conclusion of the trilogy is on the 30th in Dallas, the day after Clasico. Not too late to book your spot. You can click the link in the show notes to your respective city and book your spot. You're going to meet a bunch of Madridistas. You're going to meet us. We're going to meet you. You might win some signed stuff from the Real Madrid players. So we'd love to see you there. Please go and book your spot in the show notes. This episode is also brought to you by Fairmont Dallas. For over 50 years, Fairmont Dallas Hotel has been a cornerstone in Dallas and Texas hospitality. It's not too late. If you do an impromptu trip to Dallas for the game, you can book your stay at Dallas, or maybe you just want to come to the podcast. If you're in Texas, you want to drive up, book your stay at Fairmont Dallas. It's a great spot. Coming up is a segment about Toni Kroos. Yesterday was the anniversary of his signing. That gave us an opportunity on social media to wax lyrical about him, share some clips, talk about his greatness, and really it would have been ideal to release this yesterday, but just got busy and I couldn't. So this particular clip is taken from last week's mailbag, where someone asked us to give them our top 5 Toni Kroos moments. And here is a clip from that, where Lucas and I try to verbalize our answer there. And if you want access to the full episode and every single mailbag we do every week, plus more, go over to patreon.com/managingmadrid. We'll see you on the inside. Thanks for listening, guys. And here's today's clip. We're going to go through questions that came in through Discord. And our first question is from Patrick Odayafadi. Patrick says, "Hi, Kiyan and Lucas. I hope you're both doing well. Just wanted to have a Toni Kroos appreciation segment. As he embarks on his 9th season as a Real Madrid player, what are your top 5 Toni Kroos moments in a Real Madrid shirt? You can base it off of goals, assists, performances, or all of the above."
This is tough, man. I didn't actually read the question beforehand, so it's gonna be tough for me to think 5 moments off the top of my head. I can definitely say that, it's not a performance or anything, but it was so rare and so odd to see him celebrating when he was leaving the field on that Champions League final in Kiev. Remember, against Juventus, when he was leaving the field and he was celebrating with the fans. It was kind of strange from a cold-blooded and mind and player like him. So it was kind of strange, and I don't know why, but that came to mind, even though it's obviously not a performance or anything like that. Kroos is so consistent that, he never performs below Nate, and usually doesn't anyway. And it's rare to see him performing above a 9 or a 9.5. His consistency is so rare that it's tough for me to think of 5 moments. Let me hear some of your thoughts about them.
What was the score when he came off in Kiev and he was celebrating? Was it 3-1 or 4-1?
Nah, it was 3. It was probably still 3-1 because Asensio's goal was so late, but it was like the 87th, 38th minute. Yeah.
I do remember that. It's a scene I'll never forget. Him clapping, he comes off, he's waving to the fans, he's doing fist pumps.
Yeah.
Definitely a moment that is kind of forever etched into my memory. I think I'll try to interpret and summarize your point, what I think you're saying. I think with Kroos, it's that he's always been the type of player who some fans just don't get it with him, like what he does. And I always say, like, people like that, that's the ultimate litmus test. If you understand what Kroos does and how he's one of the greatest center midfielders of all time, you understand the game. If you don't, you just don't understand the game. Like, unapologetically, I'll just say that you don't understand the game. And so because he's not going to give you moments necessarily like Gareth Bale or Cristiano Ronaldo, these flashy bicycle kicks, dribbling 40 yards, scoring from distance.
Hold on, Kiyan. Something happened. Someone ring at the door. Sorry, man.
All right.
Had to take this. I'm sorry.
All right. Lucas is back. So my point was that, like, yeah, Kroos doesn't have the flashy bicycle kicks that Cristiano Ronaldo and Bale does, where he just like it's like a highlight reel that is like endless. He doesn't really have that, but what he has is just consistently great ball progression and organizational ability in midfield. So think of like the moments that are special with him. It's like you kind of just you'll see things that he just like what I think of is like I just see things that he does so great that no one else in the world does at that consistent level. His long range diagonal pass, where sometimes it's just in one motion with one touch, he can just do it. He receives the ball, and 1 millisecond later, it's perfectly carved out to the other side of the field at the corner flag, where Carvajal or whoever receives the ball. He's been doing that for years. His press resistancy over the years, where him and Marcelo and Isco just laughed whenever they got pressed to escape the pressure. His ability to just play long-range vertical passes into the box. The amount of key passes he's had over the years, leading Europe in so many statistical categories. Just a flash, and also just like the copy and paste goal he scores, where he gets the cut back from outside the box and he just passes it into the corner instead of shooting it. Like it's just like this accurate pass in the bottom corner. But I did think of some in the Spanish Super Cup against Valencia, when he scored directly from a corner. I don't know if you remember that.
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one of the Saudi Arabia games. He scored directly from a corner kick. This last Clásico, 2021-2022 season in the Bernabeu, where we won, I think 3-1. I was there. It was one of the best performances I've seen from a midfielder in a Clásico ever. Like, he just destroyed Frankie de Jong. Like, he was probably the best player on the field. In my opinion, like the best game I remember from him in particular. And I remember like that's what spurred me to write an article about him possibly having the best season of his career at this age, because he was also doing great things defensively at that time. So at that Clásico, the corner kick, you remember the other Clásico where he points to Vinicius to make that run, or was it Ferland Mendy? The point that is famous to me at this point. So that's 3. The one I remember is that another one, his very first game in a Real Madrid shirt was the European Super Cup against Sevilla.
Yep.
Where he just went on the field, and I thought I was just watching a legend play like in his 10th season for Real Madrid. Like immediately the connection was seamless. The way he linked up with his teammates, the way he controlled the tempo. I was like, oh my God, this guy's literally born to play for Real Madrid. That's 4, his debut. I'll never forget. Maybe 5.
It's just tough. It's just tough. He's so steady. He's so consistent that he's pretty much, and don't get this the wrong way, he's boring to watch. You know, he's like so good and so exactly. He's just it's basketball is more of a highlight sport than football, maybe at least than football for midfielders. So it would be easier to think of 5 Tim Duncan moments. But it's a very good analogy. I think it's so steady, so consistent, so fundamentally based that it's just hard to find 5 moments that stand out in his Real Madrid career, because he's pretty much always there. He's so consistent. His grades and his performances are always high, and it's just very tough to think of 5 specific moments. He's not this highlight reel player, golazos here and there. It just doesn't happen with him. But he's so steady that you just cannot underrate him. The Tim Duncan analogy is great. I'm jealous of that one, actually.